Imagine this. One morning you wake up, and the work you've devoted your entire life to, centuries of human craft, is suddenly handed over to a machine. What would you do? Yes, today's topic is artificial intelligence. But before we dive into it, let me take you on a little trip back in time. To a place that, on the surface, seems unrelated to AI, but when you look closely is almost identical, the textile industry. Let's rewind a bit. Today we worry about AI. We ask, will assistants take away our jobs? Well, guess what? Those exact same fears existed 200 years ago, back in the era we call the Industrial Revolution. Late 18th century, early 19th century. Steam power, coal, giant machines. Farmers leaving the fields, moving into cities. For centuries, people had earned their living with their own hands, and suddenly, they were face to face with factories. This was one of the greatest transformations in human history. But to the people living it, it didn't feel like progress. It felt like disaster. If you were an ordinary worker back then, here's what you'd feel. These machines are stealing our jobs. They're robbing us of our bread. They're making our skills worthless. And it wasn't just paranoia. People really did lose their jobs. Machines in those factories could do in hours what once took humans days. So the fear was absolutely real. One of the most dramatic chapters of the Industrial Revolution happened right there, in textiles. Because textiles were the beating heart of that era. For centuries, families had woven fabric at home in small workshops at wooden looms. It wasn't just work, it was pride. A craftsman could say, "This fabric came from my hands." And then, one day, steam-powered weaving machines arrived. Huge, roaring, unstoppable. A few machines could produce in hours what hundreds of workers would need days to create. That moment was a breaking point. Workers saw these machines not as tools, but as enemies, as rivals that stole their bread and erased their craft. And their anger sparked one of history's most famous movements, the Luddites. In the 1810s, across England, textile workers stormed factories and smashed machines. The logic was simple. If this is what's taking our jobs, let's destroy it. Looking back now, it feels dramatic, almost tragic. But for them, it was survival. They needed jobs to feed their children. And the machines really were replacing them. So, did machines actually put people out of work? In the short term, yes. Thousands of skilled weavers lost their livelihoods. Families went hungry. The Luddite rebellion didn't come out of nowhere. But in the long run, things shifted. Because machines made fabric cheaper and faster than ever. Cloth was no longer a luxury for the rich. It became accessible to everyone. And as production skyrocketed, so did demand. Textiles didn't shrink. The industry exploded. Factories multiplied. More workers were needed. But the kind of work changed. The old loom master disappeared. In their place came the machine operator, the mechanic. Later, the engineer. So the jobs didn't vanish. They evolved. And the textile industry kept evolving. Today, it's still one of the biggest industries in the world, but its heartbeat is no longer in tiny workshops. It's in massive factories. And now, we even have AI-driven design tools, software-controlled production lines. Did human labor disappear? No. But it transformed. Manual skill gave way to technological skill. Now let's think. Back then, machines took the weaver's loom. Today, AI threatens the designer's screen, the programmer's keyboard, the writer's pen. Back then, masters of the craft said, "We're finished." Today, programmers, designers, writers echo the same words. But history whispers the same lesson. Technology doesn't erase work. It transforms it. The real question is, can we adapt to that transformation? And I know what's on your mind right now. So, when will we actually lose our jobs? To answer that, let's turn to one of the pioneers of the AI world, GPT. Yes, that GPT. The story of GPT is a sprint. In 2017, Transformers gave us models that could truly understand context. From there, GPT-1 to GPT-3 scaled up exponentially in parameters, data, and computing power. Then came ChatGPT. Suddenly, this wasn't just lab tech. It was in everyone's hands, for work, for creativity, for everyday life. With human feedback, fine-tuning, and multimodal abilities, GPTs evolved beyond text generators. Now they can talk, code, analyze, and even work with images. A platform, not just a tool. And here's the thing. With that kind of acceleration, your question, when exactly will we lose jobs, doesn't even have a clear answer. A decade ago, projects of this scale took 5 years. Now, a new GPT model can launch in under a year. And each new version isn't just an upgrade, it's a leap. But if you want my prediction, by the 2030s, we'll be walking through the doors of a very different world. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of today's topic. Tell me in the comments what you want the next video to be about. Just drop the topic name. I know it sounds cliché, but these videos take a lot of effort. So please, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care.